It's the best motorsport there is. It's the noise, it's the smoke, it's the speed. Nothing comes close.
The most unpredictable, the most evil handling. You don't know what it's going to do. You step on the gas in a funny car and it could go right, go left, it could shake, it could blow up in your face. And that's just at the hit of the throttle.
Just the horsepower, man. 4,000 horsepower, pound the ground, shake, earthquake, the whole deal. That's what it's about.
Wow.
I love the challenge of drag racing, building the engine, putting the car together, and finally driving the car and making it all come together.
The whole spectacle of it, the noise, the rumble, the shake, the
speed, that's something that can't explain to people what it feels like. Going through the finish line at 250, 300 mile an hour and just pulling them chutes. It's quite amazing.
What can't you love about drag racing? It's an awesome sport.
I love the adrenaline. I can't get enough of it.
Woo! What was it?
Nothing on the planet like driving a Nitro Funny Car.
Hi everyone and welcome to Sydney Dragway for the inaugural running of the Aeroflow Outlaw Nitro Funny Cars, a brand new Nitro class that is the brainchild of Aussie drag racing icon Graham Cowan. We have 13 cars ready for this historic race meeting, including American drag racing star Ron Capps. It's Chad Nailon here alongside Rob Oberg today, and Rob, this promises to deliver one thing in droves: entertainment.
This is old school drag racing. What made the quarter mile sport Australia's #1 form of motorsport back in the 80s and 90s. It's about getting cars to go down the track side by side. It's about the show. And I've got to tell you, if that's not enough entertainment for you, we've even got a wheel stander, quarter mile on the back wheels.
Hold on, this is the Aeroflow Outlaw Nitro Funny Cars.
The first time I drove an Outlaw Nitro Funny Car, it took me right back to my childhood. Standing at the fence, you know, not being able to see over the fence, but standing at the fence and watching Don the Snake Prudhomme and Don Schumacher, Jungle Jim, you name it. These guys going by, some of them on fire, some of them upside down, and I'm at this fence. And I'm like, man, that is the coolest thing ever. And then going in the pit area and watching them work on it and the body flips up. I mean, just, it's so cool.
We have a really unique format here this weekend at Sydney Dragway as the Nitro Rumble starts to fill the pits and the fumes as well. Let's find out a bit more about how this show is going to work.
The traditional format for drag racing doesn't apply to Outlaw Nitro Funny Car meeting, where elimination process, all the cars come out first round, and if you lose, you go home. With the Outlaw Nitro Funny Cars, first round gets picked by an envelope system, pairing off, and then that's the person that you race. Now, for a win, you get 3 points. For a loss, you get 1 point. At the second round, it's the quickest cars get paired with the slower cars. And again, you have an opportunity to win 3 points and 1 point for the loss. And at the final round, you come back out again, going back off the same ones. They pair off where you are in the points. Now, in that process there, what ends up happening, they've tried to have 1 and 2 in the points, fight it out for a final. But at the end of the day, what you get to see in the entertainment package is you end up seeing all the cars, all racing, all 3 rounds. Just by chance, if there is a tie for the points in the final round, it goes by low ET, and if that doesn't work, they go back to the kilometres an hour.
Well, it's time to fire these things up and get this show on the road. Sydney Dragway is the location, and Starter Motors connecting for the first race ever in competition for this Aeroflow Nitro Outlaw Funny Car class. And I'm excited about this one as the body comes down on Phil Lamartina's car. It's one way of looking at it, this is teammates, yes, Rob Oberg, but it's kind of the boss versus the apprentice in a way.
Well, the Lamartinas are the team owners, and of course Aaron Hambridge, the crew chief for that Nitro team. But you're excited about this. These things are what hooked me as a drag racing fan when I was a 12-year-old peering over the fence, just like Ron Capps. Nitro Funny Cars, old school, and we've been waiting for this for a long, long time. Graham Cowan from Rocket Industries decided this is the way to go. Let's bring back some of the simpler style Nitro engines, single fuel pump, single magneto, and get these cars to put on a show.
Yeah, it's a kind of like the touring car masters you see running on alongside. Oh, we've got playing with a throttle connection on the right-hand side of the injector hat for Phil Lamartina's car. It's his brother Angelo busily working away on it with a tiny cable tie that was trying to hook up. That doesn't look like it's going to hold.
No, they're not happy with it. The car did a successful burnout, but it hasn't come off idle since. Not sure exactly what the problem is, but he's decided to go into stage. He can't leave the other car there, so he's got to go in to make a race of it.
And then he red lights. So Aaron Hambridge will go down into the history books as the first guy to win a race in the Aeroflow Outlaw Nitro Funny Car Series as it bounces down for a 6.06, which is not a bad way to start it off. And it looks like the Fuchs Flyer had issues with that throttle linkage to the right-hand side of the engine, but we'll enjoy this pass. The Bandit looked pretty clean, tiny bit of tyre shake.
Oh, it's a good first run by Hambridge. You have a look there, yeah, nothing but idle for the Fuchs Flyer, so that throttle cable brought him unstuck. Have a look at the launch from Hambridge in the Bandit. Oh, it's pretty nice off the start line, you've got to say. Not much shake there.
And you can see on the right-hand side of the injector hat that tiny little linkage flicking off where it's meant to be. So throttle issues for Phil Lamartina.
Good news is, though, with this format, he comes back next round anyway. Here's Peter Late from the Gold Coast in the Let's Boogie car.
Nice big burnout for Let's Boogie. This is another one of the cars out of the Graham Cowan stable, I guess we can call it.
Certainly is, as is the Rustler. Aaron Russell behind the wheel of the Mustang. And it's great to see these old 60s and 70s body shapes coming back in the Outlaw Nitro Funny Car Series. These guys, they just can't wait to get out there and get amongst it. They're trying to do as big a long a burnout as they possibly can. It's all part of the show, but they want the win light. That's what's imperative.
Let's Boogie looks resplendent in this sunlight. It's an all Mustang matchup, this one. Aaron Russell, the youngest driver we have in the field at 30 years of age. Into stage we go. Late pinned into the start line. It's close at half track. He backs it off early, but takes the win light, 6:49. But looks like Rob maybe shut that car off around 1,000 foot.
Yeah, being a little bit conservative in the first round of racing, and you don't want to burn them up in that last couple of 100 feet of the racetrack when you know you've got it covered. Pretty comprehensive win for Peter Lay there. The start line's where he wins it, and then he just runs away, controls the race all the way to about that 1,000-foot line off the throttle, shoots out nicely. Picture perfect for a funny car.
They rattle around, don't they, across the finish line. The bumps are accentuated in a funny car. No suspension like you'd see in a door slammer or some of the other forms of drag racing with sedans. This Dark Horse comes out, Paul Messinio. And are we allowed to pick favourites? Are we allowed to do that? Because if we are, mark me down for Supercharger.
Oh, absolutely. Daniel Schultz behind the Supercharger, the Dodge Charger body. Now, Daniel, of course, has got Nitro experience, driving and doing some testing for Santo Raposata in a Top Fuel dragster. Paul Messinio comes up from Competition Eliminator. Plenty of experience in drag racing, but really having his first taste of Nitro in these cars.
What a race. What a race. They said this category would be close. They weren't lying. 5.97. The first into the fives goes Paul Messinio, and that was a classic. Side by side, the whole way down. This category living up to the expectations. Rob, this is amazing. 16 thousandths of a second.
Nip and tuck all the way. A little bit more top-end speed is what got him home.
What a pass. And Schultz, he had the door open for him for maybe a potential whole shot win as we check out the slow-mo. Look at the rattle going through the body.
Oh, these guys know they're driving a race car. It's no armchair ride in these things. They're short wheelbase. The engine's out front. They're producing 4,000 horsepower, and you've got to wrestle them to the finish line.
You could see Paul Messina reaching up to the roof of the parachutes. Spectacular vision looking off the left of Supercharger, and he is very unlucky to lose with a 602. That's actually equaling the best that car ran back in America.
Well, here's Shane Olive in the Fast Company car, of course, out of the Cowan stable, up against Anthony Begley in the Shack Attack. Now, Shane Olive probably knows these cars more intimately than most. He's turning the spanners and preparing a lot of them in the workshop, then hands them over to the various tuners to set them up and go racing on race day.
Look at the amount of levers that he has to work with. That's his brake that he has the right hand on. He has an air-shifted gear that he must shift it around about quarter to half track with these cars. It's not like a normal Nitro Funny Car or top fuel car where you're not worrying about any gears as the visor goes down, flicks the fuel switch.
Yeah, these old school funny cars, 2-speed transmissions. You've got to hit your shift point right on the money. Oh, good sort of hole shot there, and big top, and Fast Company is fast. 602 didn't quite get into the fives. I thought it might have been. It was looking very strong through the mid-track area.
That's a big win for Shane Olive. Door slammer experience, and he's just put a number on a guy who's very used to this category, or at least running funny cars. There's the shift we're talking about with his left hand on the wheel. Parachutes on the right, grabs that brake, and from nearly 400 k's an hour, he pulls that car back up. So mark a win down for Olive. Nathan Pirano up next alongside Kiwi Willie White. Let's learn a bit more about these two.
Yeah, my name's Willie White. I'm from Hastings, New Zealand, and I'm driving the Plymouth Satellite Nitro Funny Car.
I'm Nathan Pirano, and I drive the Time Traveller Chevy Vega.
Drag racing hero.
John Falls.
They're all heroes, you know. I've got a lot of respect for a lot of people. Graham Cowan's done a lot of fantastic things. What scares me? I'm not really scared of anything. I'm cautious of things, and I respect a lot of things, but I don't think I'm really scared of anything as such.
My wife.
We're here to win. Make no bones about it, we're here to win.
We can certainly get up there.
So an interesting matchup, Queensland versus New Zealand in this one.
You'd have to say the words quiet resolve would come to mind for Nathan Pirano in the Time Traveller. He's focused and he's drilled the Kiwi on the lights.
Oh, this will be an upset. Oh, it is just Time Traveller, whole shot win. We are getting everything in this first round, 6:32, and his father, Peter, is chuffed.
Oh, they've got to be happy.
He's drawn the international card in the first round, and he spanked him.
It's a whole shot. A better start line reaction to Nathan Pirano means he can win the race, even though his time across the quarter mile is fractionally slower, because he left the start line ahead.
And when you're up against the quickest and fastest funny car race from New Zealand, a guy with a lot of nitro experience, that is a big moment for Nathan Pirano. Hasn't got a lot of experience in this car yet at all. That was his first full track pass, and he's won it. Here we go, this is cool. Side by side on boards.
And look at the clutch dust for Willie White. That thing is wearing away clutch disc, and that's how it's sliding its way down the racetrack without spinning the rear wheels through that 4,000 horsepower that these nitromethane engines produce.
What a moment this is. We've had a long list of American race car drivers in this country. Rob, you've presided over most of them, but this guy is special. It's Ron Capps in LA Hooker.
Yeah, I mean, he's done just about it all in the NHRA in the United States, but he just loves to go racing. He's a professional racer, and what's he doing on his holidays? Coming to Australia to drive the LA Hooker, and he's driving up against this car for Chris Stepanovic, the Harbour City Hustler. I love the names they're coming up with for these things.
Yeah, and he's drawn none other than Ron Capps in the first round, which is a tough gig. 2002 Chevy Camaro body up against what is a Plymouth Arrow, actually, for Ron Capps. 40 times winner in the NHRA funny car scene. Also has a top fuel win to his name as well, as he has the visor down and the race face on.
Well, Capps normally drives 10,000 horsepower current version Nitro Funny Car. Oh, how sharp. 07 reaction time. all the way win for the American.
Oh, and a 586 for LA Hooker. The boys are pumped up with that one, and well might they be. 605 is respectable for Stepanovic, but Ron Capps has come down under, and he's here to perform. Let's go on board.
This is the quickest run we've seen so far. And it's picture perfect. Not a thing wrong all the way down the racetrack.
Chance to see the super slow-mo. You can see the top pulley of the supercharger winding away. Drives through the tiniest little bit of tyre shake, but look at those butterflies. They're open the whole way. That throttle is pegged.
Watch for the gear shift.
There it is. Right on cue. Parachutes. He's a pro, Rob.
And he's got to adapt. These cars, the engine's around 400 or just a little bit over 400 cubic inches, just that bit more. 4,000 horsepower instead of 8 to 10,000. They have one magneto, they have one fuel pump. And the big difference is nitromethane, it makes all the horsepower in the world. The more you put in the engine, the more horsepower you make, but you have to burn it. And by restricting the amount of ignition spark that these engines have, they pull back the horsepower, they make them more reliable, and these cars are all going down the racetrack. We're not seeing any breakages.
Oh, a bit of driving for Rick Gorsey as he brings that car back into the groove. It was a good effort to do so, and it looks like it burns up a piston right on cue as soon as we said they don't hurt themselves, and it's a 584. The 57 Chev is on a number, and it just looked like he maybe shut that off early because the speed is a little bit down.
Yeah, it's the commentator's curse. The car leaves with the front wheels in the air, clutch set up just about perfectly, carrying those front wheels all the way through to the shift point. But I think they may have been leaning on a little bit heavy up from the top end. Looks like a burnt piston we saw. Let's see what we can pick up here.
Oh yeah, definitely shut off early. Maybe a bit of fuel coming into that car inside the cockpit as well. So first round is run and done. Rick Gorsey, the #1 man. Now that's a point score on the left-hand side. The winners all get 3 points. The losers get 1 point, and it goes off ET. So Rick Gorsey, the fastest.
It's funny because we're here to put a good show on, but those horns, this competitive horns start popping out. And already I'm like, I want to kick their butts, like even though this is part of the same team. So it's going to be fun to see how the points come out. And you know, we're just trying to go back up and run good again and get some more points.
That had to be one of the best races I've ever had in my life. I just watched some side-by-side footage of it, and that was immaculate, side-by-side racing. Couldn't have asked for anything better. And congrats to Paul for getting the win, running a 5.
What's it like to drive one of these things?
Oh, gee, it's really, really hard to explain. It's like controlled insanity. It just... one of those things. You can't. I don't know how to put it into words. It's violent, loud, and fast.
It's normally relaxed in the pits between rounds, but not for the Gorsey team. Burning some pistons, they've got to strip that engine and get it back together. There's Graham Cowan, the godfather of this series. It was his thoughts that brought it all together.
Coming up after the break at Sydney Dragway, Ron Capps tells us what it's like to drive these amazing cars. And we'll go racing with the second round. Welcome back to the Aeroflow Outlaw Nitro Funny Car Show at Sydney Dragway. We have 13 of these amazing cars here. What do they like to drive? Let's ask Californian Ron Capps.
It's really what makes me want to drive every day I get up in the morning, because you really have your hands full in a funny car. The dragster, you don't steer much. You maybe steer this much. If you're steering that much in a dragster, it's either on its side or upside down. The funny car, you hit the gas, and from the time you hit the gas, it's this. And that's just to make a straight run. So, and that's without cylinders out, which complicates things, you know. It just gets worse. So, best case scenario, I don't think I've ever made one run in a funny car that I didn't move the wheel and it went absolutely straight. Not in all the runs that I've made. You have to drive the car. You have to shift it. You got to feel it. You got to do all this stuff. And it's, it really, I yearn to drive it every time I get out of one.
Unique cars and a very unique format of racing where we don't eliminate drivers from the day. They keep racing for points, and eventually we get to see the top drivers racing for an event win at the end of it. but it's all about excitement, entertainment, and sending as many cars down the racetrack in one day as possible.
Well, here's Peter Lay, the Let's Boogie car. Already got some good points on the board, and that's what it's about. You've got to end up with 6 points from the first 2 rounds to have a real shot at getting onto that podium at the end of the event.
So, unfortunately, Schultz has already had a loss in that first round. He's very unlucky to do so, by the way. 6:02 equaled the best that car has run in America back in the old days when it was shaky situation. And it has had a bit of a history of this car running against the likes of Snake and the Mongoose over in America. So, a lot of history indeed. The Supercharger, that's the car we're talking about.
Look at that for a whole shot. Peter Lay was asleep.
And it's a 584 at the end for Supercharger. That is the quickest we've ever seen him go on. A massive PB for that car. I think he may have even had a little pedal with that as well. That car has some potential, and Greg Schultz, his father, is excited.
Yeah, I've got to say, they say it's a family sport, but Greg Schultz is just about taking the cake for that one.
That's his hand coming up to get to the parachutes as Peter Lay goes flying past, was fast asleep on the start line as we take the slow-mo shot. And you can see physically that the Charger went first. If you can see the difference, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah, we're talking of car length and a half, carrying the front wheels, a little bit of shake in the rear end.
And there's the pedal. You see the butterflies come closed? Wow.
And he still runs a 584.
That's amazing. He has a lot of potential left in that car.
I tell you what, if he hadn't had a problem in the first round, you'd start talking about whether he could get onto the top step of the podium.
Youngest man in the field, the Victorian, Aaron Russell. Oh, look at the shake.
Yeah, the steering geometry in this car is really laid back in the front end. It's designed for accelerating straight down the racetrack. You get off the throttle in a hurry, and you can get what we call the handshakes there. The same with when you reverse, you've got to be very careful because they're not designed to go backwards.
Now check this out. This was just when they fired the car up, shorting out the starter motor, so he's lucky to even be in this race altogether.
Yeah, they were fortunate that the car behind them, which had the same size starter motor, they were able to just run up and plug in a second starter motor, get the Rustler fired, and we've still got 2 cars on the start line. That's what we want in Outlaw Nitro Funny Car. We want side-by-side, nitro breathing, drag races for the full quarter mile, and so far, that's what we've been seeing.
It's delivered in droves. The Rustler, Aaron Russell, he's graduated from junior dragsters through to modified, and here he is racing in the Outlaw Nitro Funny Cars, and he's got the reaction time advantage, but the car goes right. He has to have a big pedal, but Messinio gets down nicely. That's quick. It's a 592 for Dark Horse, and he's 2 from 2, 6 points, and he's looking fast.
The more runs these guys get on the board, the quicker and quicker the cars will get. You see Russell there got out of the groove, he's had to pedal it, and Messinio was long gone.
The body comes down on the Harbour City Hustler. Sydney side of himself, actually. Chris Stabanovic, and his father, Ed, used to race funny cars as well, so it's in the blood. A couple of years out of the sport when he went to race go-karts, but he said he broke too many ribs doing that. Had 4 years in a sprint car, and here he is back in nitro cars once again. So very exciting to see him part of this series.
You've got to say it's a great example here, the Back to the Future car of Willie White, a 1970s Charger. And then you go across to the other side, we've got an 02, a 2002 body car. You don't have to have a nostalgia body in Outlaw Nitro Funny Car. You run whatever you like when it comes to funny car bodies, but all of the secret is that engine, transmission, clutch combination that levels the whole playing field.
So we do see a lot of the older bodies, but new gear. The point I was trying to make earlier was that it's a little bit like the Touring Car Master Series in that respect. Reaction time advantage to Stabanovic. Clutch dust flowing from Back to the Future, and Willie White is put away again. Unbelievable, and the Hustler takes a win. He lost to Caps, but now he claims a win over the Kiwi.
You have a look here, side by side in cars. Once again, we see the setup in Willie White's car using a lot of clutch, burning it away, making sure that what horsepower goes to the rear wheels doesn't strike it loose.
Jeez, he's going to be Willie Black by the time he gets out of that car. Look at the clutch dust.
I don't know how he can see out of it.
Well, that's one thing that a lot of the drivers have been talking about, especially guys with alcohol backgrounds like these two. That's Anthony Begley, right of screen, and Aaron Hambridge in the Bandit, who's now actually a tuner for Phil Lamartina and their top fuel car. He knows a lot about how nitro works, so let's learn a bit more about this incredible fuel.
Nitromethane is just a bomb, basically. The fuel itself, as soon as you compress it, it's extremely volatile. Laying on the ground, you can throw matches at it all day long and nothing will happen. But you compress it inside of an engine and it just explodes. It's just unbelievable stuff, and you get it wrong and it'll destroy everything in a quick second. But these engines without nitromethane would still make maybe somewhere in the area of 1,000 horsepower, but that'd be about it. You put nitro on these things and they turn into a 4,000 horsepower beast. Anything you think you know about tuning a car, an engine, you turn it around, flip it upside down, and that's how a nitro car works. It's very load dependent. So when I say load dependent, I'm talking about how fast the car's going, how fast you apply the clutch. So if you're applying the clutch very quick and you're pulling the motor down, it wants more fuel. So then the opposite occurs if the car unloads and smokes the tyres, the engine goes very rich very fast, which can also cause just as much damage as being lean. The rules for this class are designed to keep this car very simple. So you've got a very small fuel pump, you just want every single bit of fuel that pump can pump in the engine all the time. So yeah, with these cars, you just give it everything it's got. These cars here have got an 8 amp Mallory magneto. I have been hit by one before by moving the timing. It hurts a lot. So the biggest thing is having a good spark, which these things create plenty, and compression and heat. So without, like I said before, without compression and without compressing the fuel, it won't burn. So your supercharger's got to be good. It's got to be forcing a lot of air in there, and your compression ratio, yeah, you've got to have that set right. So, but if you have too much, the opposite occurs. You'll make it go bang really quick. Be driving at the shops every day to get your milk, that's for sure. No, we use about 25 litres during one run. So to go 400 metres, yeah, it's terrible. And it's expensive to top it off. You'd be lucky to get 5 Ks out of a full tank in this thing, even idling down there.
It's a phenomenal fuel, and it's what powers these cars to the amazing numbers that we see. Anthony Begley is a guy that has a bit of nitro experience now and knows what it's like to be on fire on one of these cars.
Yeah, he's been there, done that, because when these engines blow up, they're in front of you. The beauty of it is, with the Outlaw Nitro Funny Cars, they're not as stressed, so the chances of that happening are a lot more limited. However, they're still carrying onboard fire extinguishers, etc., etc., and Begley's driving that one all over the racetrack.
He went the long way for a 6:14, and the Bandit goes into the 5s. 5:96 for Aaron Hambridge. 2 wins for him, and he's looking good to be on the podium potentially.
That's where it'll come down to. Have a look at Begley. They say it's a straight line sport. He's using plenty of steering lock inside the Shack Attack.
Bouncing around inside that car, super slow-mo. You can see how far Shack Attack, the Paul Shackleton-owned car, is way out of the groove. But Hambridge was straight down Broadway, as they used to say in America with these cars, and a very clean pass to collect a 2nd win. Oh, mixed up a cylinder right at the end as well, potentially. So dropping a cylinder.
Fast Company car now. You've got to say that these things are just presented as beautifully as any vehicles in motorsport. Shane Olive behind the wheel knows these vehicles intimately.
I asked if we could call him the official test driver for the Cowan cars, and he said more like official test dummy. He's actually the godson of Graham Cowan, a long-time member of this whole rocket deal, and has been driving these cars for a few years. Very comfortable in them, as you mentioned.
He's up against the quiet achiever so far, Nathan Pirano, down from Rockhampton in Queensland in the Time Traveller. Chevy Vega bodied car, not a body shape that we'd be familiar with too much in Australia, but very, very big numbers produced in the US as a compact Chevrolet.
36-year-old Queenslander up against a 38-year-old City-sider. It's a red light for Olive. No, and the thing was quick. It's a 5:92 for Fast Company. Time Traveller will get the win, though, because he went too early.
2 wins from 2 starts for the Time Traveller. Nathan Pirano on maximum points going into the final.
Oh, he's filthy with himself. Look, he's shattered. Absolutely disgusted with that. It was a monster red light. He didn't need to do it against a car that he's clearly faster than.
But drag racing is about who gets the win light, not necessarily who's got the most horsepower. We've seen Nathan Prano now win one because he was quicker on the start line, and this time it was because his opponent was too quick on the start line.
That's a good point. Flying through for Shane Olive, but that is just so disappointing as we fire up Phil Lamartina's car.
The Fuchs Flyer had a problem with the throttle cable last time round. Now he's taking on the quickest car in the field. That is that amazing 57 Chevrolet.
Ah, yes, nothing like Nitro. And, oh, problems for Lamartina. The car has shut down. And
it just turned itself off.
Day is going from bad to worse for the Fuchs Flyer.
Well, Phil Lamartina won't be too happy about his funny car debut at this stage, but it was a big call for that team to get two cars to get ready in very short notice.
So this is the look from Rick Dorsey's cockpit as he slams the loud pedal. Clutch just kicks up, drives it back into the middle of the track, shuts it off early once again, but it's good enough for a 75. Nitro Express, 575. Again, the speed slightly down courtesy of an early shut-off, but this is impressive stuff.
Quickest pass of the weekend. Got out of the groove. He's had to steer it back into the middle of the lane where the traction's at its greatest and still runs 5.75 seconds.
And 400 k's an hour, one-handed, if you don't mind. These guys are busy race car drivers. Like Ron Capps said, lifts the front tyres, which puts all the weight on the rears. It rattled a little bit, the wheelie bar scraping along the ground nicely to balance the car out, but that is a clean pass. The quickest so far, 2 wins for Gorsey. He's looking good.
Well, here's the man that could take the performance up to him. Graham Cowan, who's put this whole series together. What an icon of drag racing.
Yeah, he's a very important man in Australian drag racing, a Hall of Famer. It's Ron Capps in the LA Hooker comes through the burnout, and he's one guy with a lot of respect for Graham Cowan.
He's just a racer. He's just a racer at heart. And everything in his life probably revolves around the fact that he's just a racer at heart. I mean, he's on a roll. He's got all these cars being built, and he's going to put together this show. And it's everything I've thought about since I started driving one of these cars. Put together a Nitro Funny Car show of some of the coolest named cars, like the old days, and have them show up and make side-by-side great racing like it used to be when we were a kid. And that's what he's done. He's almost put together something that you've dreamt about as a racer. Everything about it's gotten better and better and better.
An amazing career as a race car driver himself, Graham Cowan, celebrating now 20 years since that amazing first 4-second pass at Calder as LA Hooker gets a little bit sideways, but it's still a clean pass, nearly 582.
That's amazing, 582, and that thing was ugly off the start line. This is where a professional driver like Ron Capps earns his money because, well, 4 out of 5 guys would have shut that car off. He's driven through that tyre shake and wrestled the car down the line and comes out with one of the quickest passes of the round.
Well, let's see if he had to pedal it to get it down there. You see the roof flap just opening up slightly. That's how he gets out of the car as well, by the way, I might mention. There's the shake that Rob mentioned at the back. Now watch the butterflies in the injector hat. They're open still, they're open still. Oh, he just kept it flat and just did the work in the car.
Let's have a look how one of the best in the business handles tyre shake. Or thought about a go at the brake, gets the shifter, drives through it, and still comes up with a big, big performance.
It's a special thing to be able to watch a guy like that performing. He's one of 5 guys to be undefeated so far, and all 5 of those guys can still win the event.
Or end up first, second, and third on this unique drag racing podium.
The stage is set for an incredible final round.
Yeah, this is kind of the way it, you would have, if somebody written on a piece of paper how to make this the most dramatic, this is probably the best way to do it. Rick obviously went 75, which is a great run. Mine shook so bad, I couldn't believe it made it through it. It still went 582, which is amazing. If we both win, it's going to be whoever goes quickest this run. I suppose you could say that we're leaving nothing on the table for this run.
We'll hop her up a bit, see if we can improve a bit, see if I can put a light on the NHRA star and send him home with a loss.
happy about the pass, which means we might be able to do something more with it and not really hurt anything. So we're happy.
We're just going to jump on it. We're going to throw some more nitro at it and get a bit more aggressive, see if we can't run him down. That car's damn fast though, so we're going to have a job ahead of us.
There's plenty to see and do. It's all about entertainment at Sydney Dragway. We're going to check out the Nitro Sheriff Will standing funny car after the break, and we'll catch the final round.
Hi, my name's Greg Lay, and I'm now in my office in the Nitro Sheriff Wheel Stander. I'm going to show you a little bit about what it takes to drive this monster. I have a normal steering wheel, just like every other car. I have an accelerator and a foot brake, but that's where it all changes. After that, it ain't nothing like a normal car. When the front wheels are in the air, I got to steer with this stick here, just a stick, left, right. I bias steer it from the low speed once the front wheels are in the air, all the way up to 160 kilometers an hour. It's a ride, let me tell you. And from my front feet forward, there's no floor. I look underneath the front wheels to be able to see where I'm going once the car's in the air. That's where it gets tricky. At 160 kilometers an hour, I have to land with no vision. As the body's coming down, I lose all vision and all I can see is a bit of bitumen in front of me. When the front wheels are about 800 millimeters off the ground, I have to throttle on just like an aeroplane to land nice and smoothly. If I don't land smoothly, I hurt, and I don't like getting hurt.
Yes, unique is the word for the wheel stand, and Greg Lay knows how to drive that thing as Paul Messinio comes out now as we get set for this final round. 5 guys, including this guy, still in with a chance of winning the event.
Well, this guy had qualified for a bye run, but that was before the Rustler had to pull out with some engine damage. So, Anthony Begley has been slotted in beside Messinio. Now, Messinio has to race for the win to get on maximum points, but he's also got to be worried about the elapsed time, because first, second and third on the podium will be decided by who's got maximum points and who's got the quickest elapsed times in this final round. So he's got 2 things to worry about.
Win light and ET, that's what it's about for Paul Messinio and a bunch of other guys here this weekend, as well as James Rowland says to his West Aussie compadre in the Shack Attack to get this thing in a stage, and that's going to help Dark Horse. He's got the reaction time advantage. Head of flame starting to come out as the night sky falls upon us. 577, that's a huge pass, big win.
His quickest ET by far puts Messinio in the mix.
In a massive way. This is looking back from behind Begley. It was a 5 for him as well, but just got smoked.
Messinio had too much for him, there's no doubt about that. Begley with his best of the weekend, but not good enough in the final.
And you can see it from Anthony Begley's view. He was clean as well, but Dark Horse down the Aeroflow lane just simply ran away from him. The team are pumped. I bet Messinio is as well.
Oh, yeah! Yeah! Oh, wow! You are kidding me. You sure?
Absolutely sure. 5,
Oh,
7,
man.
7,
Oh.
3.
Mate, this is the way to go. This is the way of the future. Awesome. Oh, just no way. I knew it was fast. Oh, come and get me, boys. Yeah! Woo!
So the bar has been set. You don't just need the win light, you need to go quicker than 577 if you're in contention for the event win. Unfortunately, Phil Lamattina in the Fuchs Flyer not in contention. He's having a torrid affair.
Yeah, hasn't had the sort of outing he would have liked. Comes up against Willie White in the Back to the Future car. You could say that Willie's probably feeling the same way. Neither of these guys would consider this a dead rubber, though. They absolutely determined to not only put on a good show, but to get on top of their combinations with these cars and trying to get them down into that solid 5-second zone. They know this form of racing is set to explode right across the country, and they want to be a big part of it. So this is their opportunity to really start to get a handle on what these cars can do.
Quote of the week came from Willie White this week when he said he wants to show up and hopes it's going to be like Marty and Doc in Back to the Future before they roll the credits. He wants to come out on top. Oh, big header flames from the Fuchs Flyer. Oh, how cool is that? It's not going to get him a win, though. Oh, and damage for Phil Lamattina across the finish line as Back to the Future and the Kiwi claim a win.
White will be very happy to put a three-pointer on the board. Have a look at the replay. He's still got that clutch dust going everywhere. We're going to have a laundry bill for the fire suit, that's for sure. He will be able to start putting more and more horsepower in, although the tyres are right on the edge of letting go on the launch. That's incredible, the amount of clutch setup he's using.
That's why we're getting all that dust coming inside the car. Let's look out the back of the Fuchs Flyer. That wheelie bar touching down a couple of times. You can see the chute strings out the back, and it looked like maybe it leaned out across the finish line, burnt up a piston.
Total different exhaust note. That thing's running a lot bigger percentage of nitromethane.
Do you have a number?
High 90s.
Usually we run 90% nitro and 10% methanol, but I think these boys are playing with the pop this weekend. Shane Olive living the dream for this guy this weekend. Next door slammer racer, and just so cool to see this guy racing these cars because he's worked a long time in the sport to have this opportunity, and he's up against Queenslander again in Let's Boogie.
Well, Peter Lay, second generation racer. His father, of course, absolutely an icon of the nostalgia world in the form of Rolly Lay. Passed away just a couple of years ago, but we know that he'll be looking down on this saying, hey, that's my boy. And that's what this family lives for. And it's all about nitro, it's all about the quarter-mile sport, and you won't get them with a modern body on. They love the old school.
I probably don't need to remind Shane Olive that if he hadn't red lighted in that last race, he'd be racing for a podium right now, but it's a chance for redemption all the same.
Let's boogie. Well, let's be left on the line a little bit. Let's get out of the groove and let's let Fast Company put another three-pointer on the board with a 588.
Phenomenal PB for the 77 Plymouth Arrow of Shane Olive. It was a beautiful pass, but this is where the action was. Peter Lay with a lot of tyre shake, and that really rattled him. Got back on it nicely and pulled some big mile per hour.
These guys want to get to the finish line under power. They have a problem. They're not going to shut it off and say, well, the run is lost. They know that it's about the show, and the nitro flames just as the sun sets. This is fantastic. Love to see these cars under lights.
Pops the gear right there with his hand on the steering wheel. Some people shift between their legs, some shift with it there, and this is what I can't wait to see because it was pretty bad tyre shake for Let's Boogie. We're about to see just how bad.
The super slow-mo will demonstrate. When we talk about tyre shake, there's soft tyre sidewalls in these tyres, and they literally go out around. It's like having a triangular-shaped wheel, and it will just bounce from point to point.
But it hooked up and ran some big speed, so let's see what happens. It's going to lift those fronts, so it goes from tyre shake to lifting the fronts with a big wheel stand, and then it puts all the weight on the rears again, so it shakes again. We said that these things are violent, and that is a graphic demonstration of it.
The burnout is so important for getting heat into these tyres. No tread pattern, of course, with drag racing slicks like any form of motor racing slick, but the rubber is bubblegum soft. The sidewalls are thin. They're designed to flex. They're designed to keep a large footprint on the asphalt. You get it right, you accelerate quicker than the space shuttle. You get it wrong, and you get shooken up worse than anything you could ever imagine in your life.
Stefanovic and Schultz. And Stefanovic is smoking the tyres. Mark one down to Schultz. He's another guy that could have been on the podium. He's been so fast and demonstrates it by going faster again. 581 for Supercharger. That thing is an absolute hot rod. Greg Schultz likes it. And unfortunately, no podium for Schultz Jr., but a good weekend all the same.
Well, there's the opposite to tyre shake. That car overpowered the racetrack at the hit of the throttle. Too much power going to the rear tyres. Spins it. Daniel Schultz, on the other hand, got another picture-perfect run happening.
Yeah, the shoots out for Schultz across the finish line. It was another clean pass for this car. They've owned this for about 18 months after his dad and brother went to America to pick it up. Carried those fronts nicely. And 2 wins for the event for him. Well, we still got to sort out a winner. Messinio's 577 is going to be good enough to claim a trophy at the moment, but we've still got Caps and Gorsey to come. It's trophy time here at Sydney Dragway. The Aeroflow Outlaw Nitro Funny Car Show has made a big splash in the drag racing scene here in Australia in its debut event.
Rick Gorsey in the Nitro Express. Well, He's been the quickest car in the field so far. He's already thinking about whether it's going to be first, second or third, but Aaron Hambridge is no slouch. Already into that 5-second zone. He's got the capability here to be a real spoiler, because it doesn't matter how fast Gorchie runs, he's got to get the win light as well.
Yeah, exactly the right point there. These guys can still win the race meeting, but they need to go quicker than Messinio's 5.77. See the 3 fingers that are held up? Step 1, visor down. Step 2, put the fuel to 100%. Step 3, take your foot off the clutch. And step 4, smash the accelerator. Gorcie's on his way, but the number, what is it? It burns piston and it's there. 5.69 for Nitro Express. He's gone under the 5.77. He resets the bar and he puts himself in the box position.
Have a look at that for Hambridge. Tyre shake once more. He's had to get on and off the throttle. That cost him the race. Meanwhile, Gorchie streaks away, starts to burn it up at about 1,200 feet. They leaned on it. They wanted that time. They knew they had to go quicker than 5.77. He's done that, but is it fast enough to hang on to the top spot?
Well, Gorcey said that Graham Cowan, who's tuning all these cars, said get in and hold on. This thing's going to be a hot rod. He proved it. That is a massive number. Rick Gorcey has one hand on the trophy, but there's still a very fast American to come.
Woo! What was it?
Hang on, 5.69.
Well done. Crew's battled all day. We've had to do 2 rebuilds. The car is absolutely flying. Graham Cowan's a legend. Rocket Aeroflow. Everyone involved. It's just awesome. Awesome. I can't believe it.
He's been a 2-time finalist in the Andrew Drag Racing Series, and now he could be about to claim his first ever win in the big times. But if there's one guy who knows how to win, it's Ron Capps.
I got to say this too. Nathan Pirano's had 2 wins already. He got 1 on a hole shot, 1 with a red light. You can't discount anything. The fingernails for Rick Gorcey will be chewed down because he knows he's got at least 2nd spot on the podium. But if Ron Capps and the old A hooker can run quicker with a win light, he'll take over the top spot. What about Nathan Pirano? He's been a spoiler in 2 rounds. Surely the fairy tale couldn't continue. I mean, he's up against one of the world's best.
Now, Capps needs to run quicker than a 5.69 against Pirano and win the race, which he will do if he goes quicker than a 5.69, you'd imagine, because he's playing around with the brake and the gear shifter as well, taking it out of reverse. But here's the thing, that's 75% of the win lights today are in that left-hand lane. That lane is flying right now. Everything's set up beautifully for him.
That's certainly the case. You've got to have your money on Ron Capps. Anything can happen in drag racing. It's a matter of how fast.
Oh, Capps has smoked the tyres. He has a pedal. Pirano's running away from him. Pirano gets the win light. Gorcey wins the event. And can you believe it? The American has come to Australia and won't even get a spot on the podium. Pirano is absolutely pumped.
He is, but Gorcey wins.
Yes! Well done. Oh, awesome. Rocket Aeroflow, Graham Cowan, the whole Cowan family, Wendy. This is like the best thing that's happened in drag racing for a long time. It's got something that's going to be around for a while too.
How good is that? You cannot buy that feeling in Woolworths.
Peter Pirano excited for his son's result. What happened to Ron Capps? 2, 3 pedals. It's all over.
The thing's hiked the front wheels. It's shook. He's pedalled it. He's done everything to win.
Here's the drive drop from inside. He's busy, all right. He knows about now that it's all over. He was late on the gear shift too, just because of all the work. Shoots out on the brakes. And this is the thing, though. He'll be disappointed right now. He didn't come to make up the numbers or to sell tickets. He came to Australia to win.
He's a racer. He'll be shattered.
On board with Nathan Pirano, the Queenslander has claimed easily the biggest win of his career. He's just beaten an absolute icon.
I don't know another Australian funny car driver who has beaten Ron Capps.
Well done, you Aussie legend.
Thanks, mate. Well done, mate. Well done. 5.69. We weren't going to beat that, but we'll take it. It's in one piece. We can take it home. Beautiful.
Boy, it's the first time it had the front end in the air for a long ways, and then it came down and it shook really hard. It shook so hard it shook my foot out of the throttle, and I tried to give it a pedal just to get the win. You know, watching Rick's car run that 69 in front of us, we knew we had to get the win light first, and we had to try to go quicker. So they put the pressure on us all day. It's just a heck of a fun day. I wish we could have got that last win and gone better. We just we kept creeping up on the tune-up, and I guess we a little too much, I guess you'd say. But all in all, fun day, and I'm sure the fans really had a great day. I was hoping to take the big trophy home here, but I'm really happy for Graham Cowan and Aeroflow and all he's done, especially to, I mean, when have you seen something like this put together? I mean, it baffles me that somebody can put together all these cars and have these guys, his crew guys, put them all together and have them come out and put a show on like they did today. I mean, we saw some of the best runs. That 569 will challenge any car in the States, if not better. And this car is capable, and lots of them. And just, what a great day. I mean, just a fun day of racing.
Well, he's genuinely disappointed he won't be taking a trophy. Nathan Perano stole it from him, but the inaugural event, Rob, a success.
Absolutely huge success. You could not ask for better. This is old school drag racing, it's entertainment, and look how much it means to these guys. We're going to see a lot more of Outlaw Nitro Funny Cars in this country.
Congratulations, Rick Gauzy, on the first win, and to Graham and Wendy Cowan on a fabulous event. From everybody here at Sydney Dragway, it's goodbye for now.